go.
Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this a fine day? I hope you're all fit and well. I'm going to say a very quick good morning to Gary Muirhead, who I've just seen in the chat. I've also seen Mark Whiting and Peter McKenna. Good morning, gentlemen. Hope you're all fit and well. Lots and lots of people watching over on Instagram. Good morning to you as well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And the Darvelous Andy Darvell has arrived and has given us his usual greeting, which is morning, morning, morning. And Jim Turner is here with a singular morning. A man of few words is our Jim, but good morning, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Peter McKenna saying funky man apparently likes our new intro. Just me getting into the right spirit of things. And our friends over at Joe Brown Construction Company, LLC, have just joined us all the way from the mighty US of A over on Instagram. Good morning, fellas. Thank you very much indeed for being here now. And good morning to Chris Ford as well, who has just pitched up as well. The nature of my job means a lot of stuff goes across my desk one way and another, and it tends to range from the sublime to the ridiculous. Along with details of hot new machines and innovations, I get stuff that really makes me concerned for humanity, to be honest. There was a time I was sent details of a site boot cleaning system that was bigger than the average site cabin. There was a time when someone had compiled a report to explain why flat boot laces were less of a trip hazard than round laces. Really. And I've had another one just this morning. You know that thing that you do when someone lets you out of a side turning or someone allows you to join a queue of traffic in front of them? You know, where you quickly flash on and off your hazard warning lights as a thank you. Well, according to a press release I received this morning, that simple act of gratitude and kindness could land you a fine of £1,000 and give you 3 points on your license. The press release goes on to say, and it says it in this voice, the highway code clearly states that you must not use hazard warning lights while driving or being towed unless you are on a motorway or unrestricted dual carriageway and you need to warn drivers behind you of a hazard or obstruction ahead. While it's a nice gesture to say thank you, using hazard lights excessively may lead to confusion among other drivers who believe there is a danger up ahead, causing them to slam on the brake pedal. Really? I don't have the words, but I do know a guy that does.
Hey, that's some bullshit.
Ain't that some bullshit indeed? Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed for that. Joe Brown Construction just said we are on Demo 95 this weekend. Have a video for you. Oh, send me the video. It would be lovely to introduce you officially to the people that are watching over on the main part of the show. So yes, please do send me that video. I'd love to see it. Machine Control Australia have just joined us. Andrew Forshaw of Forshaw Demolition. Morning, Andrew. I haven't seen you for bloody ages. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. Yes, where were we? Yes, we were about to start the show, weren't we? Yeah, without further ado, I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this weird old show of ours on the road. Going to say a very quick morning to Blairim, the digger driver, on Instagram, and I'm also going to answer a question from Gary Muirhead. Bad news all round this one, Gary. I've got to be honest. Have you reached your 100,000 subscribers yet? And is the YouTube play button in the post? There are two parts to this answer, neither of which makes me very happy. We got to 99,000, and our upward trajectory leveled out. So I think we hit 99,000 about a week ago, and we're about 99,050 now, just completely leveled out. And over and above that, there is probably the worst news is the fact that even when I do top 100,000, I don't get a YouTube play button like that one. What is there? Because we are part of this show is playing other people's videos, we regularly get copyright not complaints. The manufacturers are very happy for us to share their videos, but because the system on YouTube picks up the fact that we're playing somebody else's video, we get a copyright strike, and therefore we cannot be monetized. And if you can't be monetized, your YouTube channel is not seen to be in good order, and therefore no play button. So no, we'll have to make do with just showing Freds off from time to time up there. Speaking of Fred, incidentally, we were up at JCB last week, and we took lots of films and photographs, and we were showing off new machines, new backhoe loaders, new skid steers, new mini excavators, new compactors, and all of that kind of thing. Well, one of Fred's videos has, what is the expression? Popped off, I say, over on Instagram and on TikTok. By the time he gets out of bed this morning, I would imagine he'll be probably around about 4 million views. On what is the major innovation that is attracting all of that viral attention? Somebody pushing a window up. I don't know. That's just the way it is. Let's have a look. Ken Hatteras just joined us as well. Mick Saunders is here as well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Also, to getting the answers through for the question of the day. I'll come back to that in a second, but it is Tuesday, the 20th of February, 2024. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, we're going to be dozing with LiuGong. Sennebogen converts an entire construction site to remote control. We get the lowdown on the Kobelco SK850LC excavator. Epiroc upgrades its demolition tools, and Bomag goes remote on its new trench compactor. But before we get to all of that, we have the small matter of today's mystery machine to decipher. So let me play you the right animation, hopefully, and then I'll show you exactly what it is you've got to deal with. I know I've said this before, but I think I might have you beat today. This is what you've got to work with initially. Yes, it's a telltale wheel. Oh, and a tyre, just as an additional clue. Whatever it is you're looking at, it is wheeled. But I don't expect anyone to get this. For reasons that will become obvious as we go along. But if anybody can get it, I'd love to hear from you. Can you identify their machine from just that single photograph? I've left it up a little while for those that are watching on little screens to have a closer look. Peter McKenna says it's not a skid steer. It is not a skid steer. Jim Turner says a Wacker Neuson dumper. It is not that either. Anybody else has got any guesses rather, please let us know. I'm going to take it off the screen. And while you're trying to figure that out, why don't I remind you very quickly of our question of the day. Yeah, our question of the day, very simple indeed. What is your favourite car of all time? Not necessarily one that you own or have owned, just one that you've always admired. I'm looking for the car of your dreams, the car you might rush out to buy if the lottery gods smiled down upon you with sufficient kindness and generosity. As a kid, mine would have always been an E-Type Jag. Still love them, still think they look beautiful. But now the car that makes me pause for breath is one of these. Ooh. Yeah, that's in actual fact, that's the electric one. Wouldn't particularly want the electric one, but I just thought it was a nice photograph. That right there is the Audi R8. Really like one of those. I'd like it in white, actually, but that's if anybody out there is watching and would like to donate an Audi R8 to the Breakfast Show, unlikely though it may be, please do so. Let us know. But I'd love to hear from you. What is your favourite all-time car? I know we've had a few entries coming in. We've also had another guest on our Mystery Machine, Wacker-Neuson, EW100, Rubber Duck. It is not. It is not. I'll be even clearer than that. It is nothing whatsoever to do with Wacker-Neuson. It is not Wacker-Neuson. I'll tell you what, just to keep things interesting, I will take that off and I'll give you a little bit more. Yeah, that's what you're working with. If you've got any clues on that, please let us know in the chat. And I am trying to keep an eye on Instagram just in case anybody over there is able to figure it out as well. But please let us know. Should we crack on? I think we probably should. So let's take that off and let's hit this. I'm just going to tell you, I had another couple of guesses. Peter McKenna has taken a stab at a Doosan or a Devellon. Take your pick. A loading shovel. It is not. Jim Turner says, is it a case shovel? It is not. Keep the guesses coming in. Last week, speaking of the Mystery Machine, last week when I was desperately trying to throw you all off the scent, I featured a LiuGong dozer as our Mystery Machine, actually. While I was searching for a suitable photo with which to fool you all, I was surprised to learn that there was more than one LiuGong dozer. In fact, the fact that there's a range kind of flown under my radar. So I thought now would be a good time to take a closer look at the entire LiuGong dozer range. So here they are. Pretty impressive lineup, I think you'll agree. I'm not going to ask you if you believe them to be hot or not, because they have been around for a little while, but let us have your thoughts in the chat. Imagine, if you will, you're in the market for a dozer. Money is no object, more or less. Did you see anything there that might lure you away from the usual suspects? Caterpillar, Komatsu, Liebherr. Let us know in the chat. Speaking of the chat, I'm going to throw back over there because we've still got the guesses coming in on our Mystery Machine. Ken Hatcher says, case loader thing. Being very specific, it is not. It is not a case, and it's not a case. Sorry, case 836C grader from Peter McKenna. It is not that either. Ken Hatcher says, where did he say that? There's not much they don't make in China anymore. Quite right. Not sure I'd like a made in China airplane engine, though. Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from on that. Shall I show you a bit more of the Mystery Machine? Because, as I say, I have deliberately made it a bit more difficult today. What else have we got to deal with? Tells you absolutely nothing. So that's what you've got to work with. If you've got any guesses whatsoever on what that might be, I can tell you already, it is not a dozing, it is not a case, it is not a Mechalac 9 MDX cab dumper, it is none of those things. Told you, it's going to be a tough one today, and it's made tougher. This is possibly a clue, depending how well you know your kit. It's possibly a difficult one because the manufacturer is not distinct. That will make more sense when I actually reveal what it is. I wonder if we can get through the entire show without you figuring it out. In the meantime, while you're racking your brains, let's have a bit of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Remote controls. Let's talk about remote controls. We've seen it applied to individual machines, demolition robots, skid steer loaders, even dozers. Do excuse me. But an entire construction site? Well, apparently it is a possibility. Good morning to Peter Ferguson, who's just joined us over on Instagram. Thank you very much indeed for being here, Peter. Yes. Any clues on the mystery machine? I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw over to the chat. That's what we're looking at the moment. Peter McKenna goes fairly general with it's a loading shovel. Okay. He goes a bit more specific with a Weatherer 161D loading shovel. I can tell you now that it is actually a current machine. You could pop out and buy one of these today, no trouble whatsoever. Well, you could buy one today, let's be absolutely honest. Great idea, says Mick Saunders, talking about the Sennebogen. Still prefer to actually have hands on the machine. I think you're not alone in there. Going to say this to Chris Ford. What was the question of the day? Can't drive and look at the screen. Sound only. As for the mystery machine, could I have a variable description apart from the wheel? Yes, you can. Okay. First of all, Chris, the question of the day is: what is your all-time favorite car? Not necessarily one that you've owned or own right now. Just your dream car. If if the lottery gods smiled down upon you now, what car would you rush out and buy? That's the question of the day. As for the machine, I can tell you, it's got a cab, it's got wheels, 4 of them, 1 at each corner, and it has a bucket. And as we've just agreed with Peter McKenna, it is most definitely a loading shovel. What we need to know, actually, is which loading shovel it actually is. I'm going to take you off the screen, Chris, and I'm going to reveal a little more to those that are able to watch. Oh, a little glimpse of orange. Is that a clue? Is that Chris, if you're still driving, I can tell you now, there's a bit of orange on them. I don't mean like the fruit. I mean, there's a splash of orange color on the machine. Does that help you at all in any way at all? Kings on Crusher has just joined us over on Instagram. Good morning to you. I should say hello to everybody on Instagram, but some of the names are hard to pronounce because they're a bit of a mishmash of names and locations and stuff like that. But good morning to everybody over on Instagram. We'll come back to the mystery machine in just a moment. But before we do that, we need to do maybe a smidgen of this. Now, I can tell you, somebody's just got a bit closer. And we've got Ken Hatcher saying it's a Taylor wheel loader. It is not. Peter McKenna saying a Blanche 36 loading shovel. It is not that. However, our friend Peter Ferguson, who is watching over on Instagram, has just typed into the chat over there, Weycor, Weycor. He is the closest yet. He is the closest yet. We do need a make and a model, but he is the closest yet. Just to remind you, that's what we're working with right now. Keep the guesses coming in. Love to hear from you. And you don't just have to take part in that. If you want to talk about anything else, you know, the doors are open. Please, whatever you like to talk about. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Let me try that again with my teeth in. Fasten your seatbelts, people, because we're heading down under to get the lowdown on the very latest Kobelco SK850LC excavator. Take a look at this.
Gatto Sales and Repairs has had the Kobelco dealership since 1998, and we've been supplying the Central Coast, Newcastle and Hunter region into the mid-north coast, solely dealing with Kobelco excavators. So the latest machine we are delivering here at Gatto is the Kobelco SK850, which is going to be the first one delivered in Australia. It's a pretty big achievement for Gatto and Kobelco. That machine's going to lead in excavations and is going to go into the mining sector. They're bought for bulk earthwork, moving as much dirt as you possibly can. We're excited to have this SK850 here before it goes out with you guys to show you around the machine. We'll go for a walk over and have a look at it. You'll notice we've fitted a quick fill for the diesel system on this, simply so you don't have to jump on top of the machine to fill it up. You can fill it up from ground level. We've also fitted an aftermarket auto greasing system on it, which will just keep constantly pumping grease into every pin of the machine, keeping it 100% greased, not relying on operators' error of not greasing it. Now around to the front of the machine, we have a few more electrical specifications. E-stop from the ground level. We have the auto grease quick fill, so when the grease system does run out, it's just an auto grease quick fill there. We've got your burst protection for your MDG 15 specification with your whip checks on all those hoses. On the front of the cab there, we have the OPG card, Operator Protective Guard. That's just simply to put another level of protection on top, along with your FOPs on top of the machine and your ROPS cab. Right, in the cab of the SK850 in here, a couple of the features are obviously nice big high back air suspension seat, which is super comfy for the operators, nice big cab. Built-in camera into the screen with a second camera, right hand side camera, so you can see it. A bit of the stuff for the MDG stuff would be site specific UHF radio, standard UHF radio, and all our controls for our fire suppression and hydraulic steps on my left hand shoulder here. Besides that, we have the factory rotating proportional controlled circuit on my left hand and my hammer auger circuit on my right hand controls. And we need these inclinators as part of the MDG 15 spec, just so you're not out of a certain degree. So if you see on your right hand side there, so again, a second set of inclinators with your sticker showing what grade and maximum grade you're allowed to work at. Come through to our serviceman walkway here. We can open this right up, get to our hydraulic filter there, open that up, get to air filters, get to engine bays, all very simple. From a servicing point of view, this is a dream to work on. Hydraulic filters, everything there, engine right there. There's more doors on this thing than what you can imagine, so all very easy to access. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at braided fuel lines for the fuel system. This is another MDG 15 requirement, so we put them on every fuel line on the machine. Here we're looking at the hydraulic pumps of the SK850, very accessible and serviceable. Along with, you can see you've got your fire suppression hoses up the top here for any fires, again for the MDG15 specification. We've got the breather down here for the diesel quick fill. Around the back of the machine up here, you will see we've got our 2 big fire suppression extinguisher tanks. So this Sandvik fire suppression system is a pretty well-renowned system on the market. That's why we decided to run with them guys. They've done a couple of Wes's machines in the past, and they're a pretty proven product. So we decided to run with them again for this machine. Thanks for coming on the walk around of this SK850 today. We're super excited to showcase this beast of an 85-ton machine. It really goes to show what Kobelco and their dealers can do for you and your business moving forward, from anything from 1 tonne to 85 tonne. Get in touch with your local dealer through the website at kobelco.com.au and they'll be able to sort you out.
Lots of people enjoying the SK850 from the fine folks at Kobelco. A nice machine. That says Ken Hatcher. Totally agree. Decent bit of kit, says Peter McKenna. Driver friendly indeed. Mick Norton says quite an array of burst valves on the boom geometry. The boom geometry for that Aussie excavator. Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, Peter Ferguson has jumped over from Instagram to Facebook to properly take part in today's mystery machine, which looks currently like that. I can tell you we've had a few more guesses. We've had Peter McKenna suggesting it's a Shandong wheel loader. It is not. We've had Gary Muirhead suggesting, quite rightly based on the orange, I guess, it's a Hitachi ZW80. It is not. Gary Muirhead has also guessed the Devellon DL60-7. It is not. Peter Ferguson, as I say, has jumped from Instagram to Facebook to offer that. It's a Waycore AR580 wheel loader. It is not. It's the closest guess yet, but it is not. Should I show you a bit more? That doesn't help at all, does it? I can tell you that our friend Peter Ferguson is very much on the right track, but nobody's got the right answer quite yet. We'll be right back. Immediately, I would suggest, after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Epiroc demolition tools are among the best in the business. In fact, I was actually surprised to learn there was any room for improvement. Turns out there was. Nice set of jewels, says Mick Saunders. I'm sure he's talking about the Epiroc machines, not me. Peter Ferguson is back with another stab at our mystery machine, which looks like that. He says it's the Waycore AR320. That close. In case that wasn't clear, that close. I'm not sure how much more I can show you without actually revealing the whole thing. So let me just give it a try, because we're getting close to the end of the show. There you are. There's a little bit more. Doesn't really tell you a lot, but yes, you're getting closer by the minute, Peter. You are the closest yet. If anybody's got any more guesses on that, I'd love to hear from you. And just for those that don't know, Waycore is the name now of what used to be Atlas. Atlas Weyhausen became Waycore, kind of. it's a complicated story, but that's what we're talking about right there. If anybody's got any guess on a specific model, I'd love to hear from you. We will be right back after all this, I think. This is our final film of the day. We've had 2 more guesses on the Mystery Machine. Chris Ford, who is largely unsighted, says the Mystery Machine is a Kubota RT10 electric loader. It is not. Peter McKenna says it's a Wacor 480S. It is not. Unless somebody gets it by the time this film ends, I win. For the first time, I win. Now, if you were here yesterday, you would have seen part of our interview with the director of Intermat, in which he explained that digitization will be a key topic at the show when it rolls around in April. So Bomag really couldn't have timed the introduction of their new trench compactor any better if they tried. I'll come back to the chat in just a second. Applications like that, in my opinion, that are absolutely crying out for remote control operation. No men in trenches. I think that's a good way forward. If you agree, please let us have your thoughts in the chat. Frankly, even if you don't agree, let us have your thoughts in the chat. You can say good morning to Garvin over at Mostly Diggers, who's just joined us over on Instagram as well. Chris Ford has given up, and he's given up driving and listening. He's going to find a lay-by to lurk in. Just do not, under any circumstances, flash your hazard warning lights as a thank you to anyone. Mick Saunders says, at your age, I'd be careful where you lurk. Yes, I quite agree. Out of desperation, Peter McKenna has gone for the Wacor AR400. It is not. That's our Mystery Machine. And he then went all guns blazing on the AR400, the AR420, the AR440, the AR480. It is none of those things, which means for the first time in the history of the Mystery Machine slot on this show, I win. I win. What you are looking at, and I can show it to you. Let me give you a bit more. There you are. That right there is a Wacor M350 wheel loader. Wacor will actually be at Intermat. So if you're interested in their machines, pop on over or just keep an eye out. You can find them online, obviously. Ken Hatcher, 380 got very, very close. It is actually the 350, what you're looking at right there. So, as I say, for the first time ever, I won. I'm not going to brag about it too much because, frankly, I think that's about 15-1. you against me, but I finally got one in the can. Yes, good stuff. Right, okay, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can, stick around. if you can't stick around, rather, please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues, and anybody else that knows you. Hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back with the Craic immediately after this word from our key show sponsor. Quick one from Instagram. It's Garvin over at Mostly Diggers. Love those Bomags. Need a sensible person operating it, though. See them on their side or keeled over quite a lot. Even more reason for the remote control, I would say. Let's have a look. Who do we have amongst us today? Oh, do excuse me. I had a crumpet for breakfast this morning. It appears to have gone down the wrong hole. Less said about that, the better. Good morning to Mr. Gary Muirhead. Gary's actually sent me another question of the day. I'm saving it, Gary, purely because, well, you know what it was. You know why you sent it. I'm going to save it till Monday, if that's okay with you. But yes, we do have a question of the day today, which was, what is your all-time favourite car? That's currently mine. Not that specific one. I don't want an electric one, although I'm sure it goes like lightning. I would much rather have the regular version, in white, ideally, if anybody's keen to offer me one. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Who else joined us? Let's have a look. Peter McKenna joined us. Mark Whiting joined us. Jim Turner joined us. And Andy Darvell joined us as well. And Chris Ford was here as well. Yes, that is our friend Peter enjoying the new intro. Just needed something to transition between that intro and me getting myself started. It also gives me about 6 or 7 seconds in which for me to swallow the last of my coffee. That's really why it's there, just because I'm not prepared. Gary Muirhead did ask ask a question: have you reached 100,000 subscribers yet? And his YouTube play button in the post. We haven't reached 100,000, and even when we do, we don't get a play button. I checked this a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you, according to YouTube, our channel is not in good standing because we play things. I mean, that Bomag video that we just played you, pretty much guaranteed when this show is over, I will have a notification from YouTube that the music on that video has triggered some kind of copyright infringement. It's not a strike. It's not going to get me banned. Because obviously the manufacturers themselves are quite keen for us to share their videos and stuff, but it's enough to make sure that we're not allowed to monetize our channel, and as we're not monetizing, we're not in good standing, and therefore no play button. So I'll have to make do with that one right there. Might try and scratch Fred's name off it and put my own note. I'm not going to do that. There was the question of the day. What is your all-time favorite car? And again, that is mine. Peter McKenna, boy racer. You can take the man out of the boy racer, but you can't take the boy racer out of the man. He says the Ford Sierra Cosworth. Good God Almighty, they were quick. I'm kind of surprised they were allowed as a road car. I remember a friend of mine had a Renault 5 GT Turbo. He bought it second hand, and it was a Renault 5 GT Turbo, but the person that had it before him had basically ripped out almost everything aside from the driver's seat and the passenger seat. There was nothing in the back, there was a rollover bar or whatever, but this thing was a good half a ton lighter than it should have been. A Renault 5 GT Turbo already went like stink. This thing, he gave me the keys once. We were in Surbiton, which is not a million miles away from where I'm sat now. A perfectly straight piece of road. And he said, have a go. And I literally, and I wouldn't even go so far as to say I floored it. I just took off like you would. And the bloody thing snaked off up the road. I pulled up about 100 yards later and went, no, not for me, thanks. Terrifying. Ken Hatcher has joined us. He has the rain and the cloud, because the rain doesn't stay in Spain, it stays in Wales most of the time. Peter McKenna also likes the 1969 Ford Mustang. I'm fairly sure somebody else has mentioned the Mustang as well. We'll come back to that. Ken Hatcher says the Toyota RAV4. That's a pretty normal car, isn't it? Apart from their ability to lie down. I don't know if they still do that. They had a bit of a reputation back in the day. RAV4, perfectly achievable for a man of your stature, Ken. Jim Turner says Land Rover, anything from the original Series 1 up to the Defender and Range Rover, but only up to the RR Classic. Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to have a Range Rover. I wouldn't mind one of the Japanese alternatives, the Isuzu or something like that, but I don't think I could do the Range Rover. Land Rover, I have a slightly different feeling about. They're a bit more rough and ready. I quite like that. Let's have a look. Lots of guesses on our question of the day, none of which were correct. Andy Dovell says, older car will be a Datsun 240Z, but the ultimate car would be a Pagani Zonda. There's a man that knows his motors. Yeah, another supercar in the can there. I told you somebody else had a Ford Mustang as their dream car. And it's Gary Muirhead. A Ford Mustang GT 500 Shelby, also called Eleanor, used in the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. Gone in 60 Seconds. Starring the horse face that is Nicolas Cage. I actually like Nick Cage a lot. I think he's grossly underrated as an actor, mainly because he's quite possibly mental. But he's very, very good. Question of the day. Mick Saunders says, had an Alvis TD21 built 1961. If only I could afford one today, I would be a happy man. Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know model numbers, but you watch those old gangster movies from Prohibition era Chicago, the 1920s, the ones with the running board and the big wheel arches and the doors that open in the wrong direction. I quite like one of them. I'd also, if those of a certain age, if you were around watching MTV in the 1980s, do you remember the car? I don't even know what it is, but the car that ZZ Top had. I was going to say they drove. I don't believe they ever drove it because there was always just dolly birds getting out of it. So if anyone knows what that was, I'd like one of those. That would be quite nice. Again, guesses on our mystery machine. None of those. That one was correct. It was a loading shovel. Just needed something a bit more specific. Yeah, again, lots and lots of answers. Now you can see why I went very sneaky and came up with a machine that I mean the machine itself has been around for a while. It's the name of the manufacturer that I was designed to throw you off a bit. As I say, Peter Ferguson not fooled one bit. He spotted the fact that it was a Wacor a long way off. Yes, there is. One of the reasons that I was talking about Wacor is they are going to be exhibiting at Intermat, and we met up with them in the press days in Paris a few weeks ago, and they are very keen to get across this transition of the name from Atlas to Wacor. For those who know their plant history, Atlas used to be Atlas Weyhausen. There's been changes in ownership, changes in management, and they are now going to be known under the name of Wacor, W-E-Y-C-O-R. And part of their reasoning for being at Intermat is basically to get across the fact that, hey, we're here, we're still in existence, we're still doing our thing, and we still make some bloody good machines. I'm fairly sure, and I don't think he's in the chat today, but Dan Cullen actually met up with Wacor at Hillhead last year, and he was a bit of a fan as well. Machines look very, very good indeed. And again, the Germans do compact wheel loaders pretty damn well. So if you are going to make the journey over to Paris in April, have a look. Look out for the fine folks at Wacor. Mick Norton says, quite an array of burst valves on the boom geometry of that Aussie excavator. I was actually slurping my coffee at the time, so I didn't notice, but thank you for that. Wow. Mick Norton and I often find ourselves on the same wavelength, and boy, oh boy, does this ever ring true with me. The Kobelco marketing guy knew his onions. So many sales reps are clueless here in the UK for a variety of brands. Bearing in mind what it is that I do when I'm at exhibitions, you would be astonished. I mean, bearing in mind, a lot of the stuff that we do with the manufacturers has been pre-agreed. We will be on your stand at a certain time on a certain day. They are paying us to be there in many instances. So can you please give us a product specialist to speak to? Often they do just that. They'll bring in somebody that was involved in the design or the manufacture of the machine. But we there's one that really sticks out. We walked onto a stand at Plantworks. I'm not going to name names because it's not the bloke's fault. Walked onto a stand at Plantworks last year. Funnily enough, Garvin will be able to work this out because I was actually stood talking to him just before I went to do it. We were stood by a stand, and we had an appointed time and everything else. I walked onto the stand and said, we're here to film this machine. Who's going to do it? And they all looked at each other a little nonplussed, and then they pushed to the front of the queue a guy who then spent maybe 20 minutes looking at his phone, talking to himself. And when he'd finished looking at his phone and talking to himself, I said, everything okay? He said, I've only been with the company for 6 weeks. I've never actually seen this machine before. So I was just reading the spec sheet. As a result of which, the resulting video was him saying, a lot. Why would you do that? Why would you select, bearing in mind public face and global audience, as I say, JCB video that we filmed just a few days ago, 4 million views across Instagram and TikTok and what have you. Why would you expose that to, or why would you push into that somebody that didn't even know what the machine looked like? Bagger official or official, depending how you look at it, just joined us over on Instagram. Peter Ferguson gradually whittling down exactly what that machine was. Nice set of jaws. Nick Saunders says, yeah, that was the Epiroc, the upgraded demolition tools. Let's have a look. Lots and lots of guesses from Peter there, but eventually I won. Yes. That was, I think that was the closest, the AR350. It wasn't. It was the 350. Oh dear. Oh well, just been told there's nothing more for me today, so finishing off with the show and I'll be off. Could you find the time around about 7 o'clock tomorrow night to come along and bear that in mind, the way that you've just been treated there, Peter. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. I'll be joined by a broadcaster, and I've kind of described him as an industry activist. I'm not entirely sure that's quite the right word, but we are going to be talking about the way in which construction and demolition workers are treated, and the fact that they don't actually have a voice. Nobody speaks for them. People just tell them what to do. I'd love to get your thoughts on that tomorrow night, because that's... Watch tomorrow night. I've just finished scripting the intro for it, and when I say it out loud, I think a lot of you go, he's got a point. He's a weird bugger, and he does wear silly hats, but he has got a point. Jim Turner says they are tricky buggers without the twin drums on. That's talking about the Bomag remote control machine that we saw, the trench compactor at the very end. Question of the day. Chris Ford would like a Range Rover, run them for over 44 years, but now thinking of a Merc GL going up in the world. Is that going up in the world? I guess that's going up in the world. Mick Dalton says a Mini Moke. Wasn't that a kit car? Was that actually a real car, or was that a kit car? I know a friend of mine had one. Kieran. Don't even know whatever happened to him. My mate Kieran had one when I was a drunk, basically. I don't know whether I know his was a weird one because it had a Perspex panel in the middle of the bonnet, so you could actually see the engine. I know his was a wildly modified. Was the Mini Moke a kit car, or was it a real commercially available thing? Mick Norton says, thought for the day. Imagine we lived in a world where all cars were EVs, and along comes a new invention, the internal combustion engine. Half the weight, saleable, refueled in no time at all, and a range of 4 times the distance in all weather conditions. Uses less steel in manufacture, doesn't rely on environmentally damaging use of non-renewable rare earth elements. It would sell like hotcakes. I see what you did there. Does make for interesting reading, though, doesn't it? Really does make you think. My column this week, which I published yesterday, was not on that subject, but very much along that line. In our haste for sustainability, what are we actually kicking out? And there's one. The other one that I said was, we are talking about moving from demolition to refurbishment and refit. In other words, handing part of the construction industry to people that don't have the same training and competence standards that we currently enjoy. Are we going to see more accidents? My belief is yes, we will. Is that a price we're willing to pay? Peter McKenna, back on the question of the day, said, I had a Vauxhall Cavalier 3-litre injection years ago, 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. I got a speeding ticket for doing 50 in a 40. Thank God they didn't see me on the motorway 20 minutes before. I was maxing 190. Good Lord. We do not condone that kind of behaviour. However, we do not condone the idea of 3 points on your licence and £1,000 fine for flashing your hazard warning lights as a thank you to somebody behind you. We believe that to be...
Hey, that's a bullshit.
I'm going to keep that guy on hand because boy, oh boy, does this show ever deal with some bullshit. Mick Norton, wait until we have cars with a nuclear battery. I so hope I'm off the road by the time that rolls around. Brilliant comment. Absolutely bloody brilliant. So why aren't we capturing, filtering the harmful crap as it comes out the exhaust and carrying on with internal combustion? Hold on, we can in the form of hydrogen. And it's coming, says Jim Turner. Why has it taken so long for manufacturers of cars to get to the point we are at now? In 1914, there was an electric car. And around about the same time, there was a car that could run on vegetable oil. Yes, vegetable oil. It was doable back in the day. Peter McKenna says the 1914 Detroit electric model 47 Ruffin personal car of Clara Ford. I know you're saying that like I should know who the hell Clara Ford is. Is that a Ford? Like a Ford? Let's have a look. Sorry to say, what Peter was told, it happens daily. What was that? Yes, that was, we don't need you anymore, go home. That's what he was told. The site I'm on, there is no car parking. I've been asked by the site manager to park with everyone else, bearing in mind that I have limited mobility. The nearest parking is a good 7 or 8 minutes away from the site. It's all part of the same thing, isn't it? Peter McKenna says the little kid saying bullshit is better than that guy. I need to find that. I feel like I've seen it. Is that the one in the back of the car? I feel like I've seen it. Peter McKenna says Ford manufacturing company Ford, yes. And we were talking about Clara Ford, whose personal car apparently was an electric car way back in 1914, just before I was born, should I say. Made me laugh this morning. Advert on TV for Ontario and how they had all the resources for batteries on electric cars, then went on to show the amount of mining and everything else that goes with it. Think someone needs to tell them. Yeah. It just, listen. Having said that, I'm bearing in mind Canada still mines asbestos. Let us not forget that. Still mines asbestos. Because, we definitely want some more of that in the world, don't we? Yes, Peter McKenna says I'll post that on WhatsApp. Thank you very much indeed, Peter. And if I can grab it, I will. And I'll safeguard it. I'm still trying to get my Stream Deck to be able to play sound clips and video clips. I have another way of doing it. But I would like a nice catalogue of those because I do think they add a certain something to the show. So I am going to recap very, very quickly. Where are we? Yes. Tomorrow. Here in the morning for this. And then here tomorrow evening with Andy Stevens to talk about the fact that nobody speaks for the construction worker or the demolition worker for that matter. Then we're here on Thursday and Friday. And then next week, the Friday show will not be a breakfast show. It will be dedicated entirely to all things Didcot, because that will be the 8th anniversary of the Didcot disaster. And I said this yesterday, I've already seen a copy of the statement that the police are planning to put out. There is no conclusion as yet. We are still ongoing. So, all the more reason to join in on Friday and let your thoughts be known. And then next week on, I can get rid of that. I don't know why I'm saying that. You can't even see it. So and then next Wednesday, Tim Burnhope, one of the senior directors at JCB, will be with us to talk about all things NRMM, non-road mobile machinery. That's what he's planning to do. Let's have a look what we've got here. Take that away. Chris Ford says, Ford, fix or repair daily. First on race day. FORD. Never heard that before, but thank you. Mick Norton says, BMC produced the Mini Moke in 1963 for the open market. Other than the 848cc engine, many bits borrowed from the standard Mini. I used one in the Solomon Islands in 1971. It was a real car. I always just assumed it was a kit car. Mick Saunders says, still trying to find out about the MPAWS ticket thing, if anyone knows. Mick Saunders, Mick Norton, MPAWS thing. If anyone's going to know, Mick Norton will. Peter McKenna talking about the faults. Easy to fix though, unlike modern cars. And Fiat, fix it again tomorrow. Yes. Yeah, we are getting a few of those. Unfortunately, when you have a video or a photograph or something that goes viral over on Instagram, the law of averages dictates that in amongst all of the positivity, you will get the occasional naysayer. And somebody in America has decided that JCB, rather than standing for Joseph Cyril Bamford, stands for Junk Constructed in Britain. I think they're kind of stretching exactly what JCB stands for, but I'm not having it. Not having it at all. Right, everybody, that's about an hour. That will do, won't it? I mean, I kind of get the feeling I'm the only thing standing between Peter McKenna and his journey home. So please, could somebody go and tell Peter it's time to go home? Mick Saunders says, someone put up that MPAWS doing a supervisor manager ticket, NFTC saying they do not recognise it if it exists. I hate to say it, but is that just an NFTC thing? I don't know. Peter McKenna says, anyway, folks, off for a drive. Enjoy your day. Catch you all on the flip side. You most certainly will. If that's the site rules, then that's just bad luck, says Jim Turner. Yeah. But again, I'm not going to do it. As I say, I've already written my opening monologue for tomorrow night's show. And when I got into it, when the creative juices started to flow, when you actually write down all of the things that you believe to be wrong with this industry, it really is quite a list. And the very fact that we don't, that you, those that are actually working at the coalface in construction and demolition, don't have anywhere to go and discuss or air your views, your fears, your concerns, your hopes and aspirations. There is nowhere that you can go and do all of that. It really does make for very, very concerning reading and listening, hopefully, as well. So please, if you can, join us tomorrow night, 7 p.m. One of the things that I will tell you that's in the script, I've actually said, obviously, it's going to be myself and Andy Stevens will be on the screen, but I'm very, very keen that you should be the driver of the show. I want personal experiences. I want to know about those times where you've turned up for work and been told, oh, actually, we off-hired you half an hour ago. You didn't need to drive the last hour or so. Things like that. Things where you've taken your concerns to the site supervisor or somebody even higher still, and you have been treated like a troublemaker. All of those kind of things. Want to hear about all of that. Peter McKenna says, MPAWS SO31 Construction Site Safety Manager course. Mick Saunders says, we all know that those of us on the bottom rung of the ladder are not worth the trouble. I see where you're coming from, Mick, and that basically is the driving force behind the inspiration behind tomorrow night's show. But think about apartheid era South Africa, where you had a handful of white people controlling millions of black people. They sorted that out, and I've never done the maths, but I would imagine the maths are pretty much the same. You've got a little handful of people at the upper echelons of construction and demolition and what have you, dictating the ways and the whys of millions, 3 million plus people. is that the way it's supposed to be? And even if it is the way it's supposed to be, should those 3 million plus not have a say in how they're treated, how their sites are run, how they are expected to, endure the conditions that they do? I think they probably should. I'm just going to round off. Peter, the question was actually about demolition. So, yeah, okay. Mick Norton is going to do some digging, so expect an answer on that any time now. Mr. Saunders, that will do us. We've just passed the hour mark. I have things to do, places to be, people to see. And speaking of Peter, I've now got your address. So that, which has been sat on my desk since you won it, that will be going in the post for you today, Peter. So watch your post. I'll be getting that out to you a bit later this morning. Everybody, I'll see you again tomorrow. Not once, but twice. Mick Norton says, how do the masses get a unified voice? Good question. I find myself saying this sentence a lot. I don't believe that unionisation is the answer, but I do think the industry does need something. When you think about, we have the Royal Institute of British Architects, a little cabal of architects that speak to each other and drive their industry. You've got the National Federation of Demolition Contractors, a little cabal of demolition contractors who get together to drive and you've got same for surveyors, you've got the same for civil engineers, you've got the Federation of Master Builders, all these tiny little silos, and yet below those millions and millions of people, 3 million odd people, some of them very odd. They should have some say in how they are treated. My feeling anyway. Jim Turner says the masses can't get a unified voice because they don't all feel the same. It's a good point. But surely is that not the very notion of democracy? You take all of those opinions and ideas and aspirations and fears and concerns and you bundle them all together and you try to pick the bones out of that. Is that not the idea? Or, it's a question for tomorrow night, really. Or is the industry just prepared to just sit there and be told what to do? And one of the things I know we talk about the way in which the industry is run. But think about the way that pressure within the industry works. You have your client, your developer, or your main contractor at the very top, and they are leaning on whoever is immediately below them to get the job done more quickly than they originally agreed to do. So they are then leaning on whoever is below them to get the job done more quickly than they originally agreed to do. And that percolates right the way down to somebody who might just be a one-man band. And he has now got dozens of much bigger, much more powerful, much more influential people requiring him. He agreed to do a job in a week and they want it done in an hour at less cost than he agreed to do it. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And if that guy then goes away and he's so stressed and is so pressurized that he decides the only way I'm going to get through the day is by going out on the piss or taking drugs of some description, or ultimately doesn't make it through the day and goes and tops himself, that started up there. Where are we, those of us in the lower echelons, pushing back? Mick Saunders says, should be an interesting one tomorrow night. Hope so. The lack of representation of workers lies at the feet of the incestuous major stakeholders who are intractable in their ability to assist. Intractable. I mean, I know what it means, but it's like the perfect word, isn't it? Yeah, just will not budge, will not see good sense and reason. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow night. And then, as I say, we'll be back on Friday for a show dedicated to the four guys that lost their lives at Didcot 8 years ago this Friday, and to their families as well. Chris Ford says, game on. Game on indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Lots and lots to get through. We'll try to make it as entertaining as we possibly can while addressing some of the worst aspects of the industry. That sounds like the kind of thing you could get behind. please join us. Love to have your company. Love to have your feedback. Love to have your input. Till then, everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Peter, enjoy your drive. I'll send you your hat. I'll see you all very, very soon. Till then, have a good one. All the best.